Hello, this is Mr. Bradley, and this video is meant to help you um, figure out how to use Logger Pro to analyze videos of motion. I'm actually going to do two different videos. This first video is just to kind of familiarize you with the program and how to insert movies first, get some of the basic stuff out of the way. The second video will be more detailed in terms of the exact things that you need to do as you're analyzing video. So the first thing to do is open up Logger Pro. I'm going to assume that you've already downloaded the software program from the website. If you haven't, you can go to the Mustang Physics website and there's a link to Logger Pro software. You'll download the installer and you'll have to run that. There's a password that's necessary to make the installation program work correctly, and that password changes every year. So I'm not going to include that password in the movie, but it will be provided to you somewhere along the way, either on the website or in class or something like that. So once you've downloaded Logger Pro software, you want to go ahead and open it up, and you should get a window that looks something like this. Now Logger Pro, we use this in the classroom a lot to run motion detectors and force probes and all kinds of data analysis tools. But it also is good for analyzing video, which is kind of cool. So the first thing you have to do is when you open up Logger Pro, you want to go to the toolbar up above and you want to click on Insert Movie. Now, if this option is grayed out, meaning that the word movie is there but it's not in black, that means you need to download a little program called Quicktime, which is a free software program from Apple computers. It's usually bundled with iTunes, and most computers have it on there, but we've run into some times when people didn't have it. So if that's the case, you gotta install QuickTime, and then you should be able to go from there. So when I go to Insert Movie, I'm going to navigate to where I've saved the movie that I want to analyze. I've already downloaded a movie that I want to analyze, and so I went to my desktop, and I'm going to go ahead and open that up. When you do that, you're going to get a big window of the movie. It could be very big. It's kind of hard to say. So you might have to do some resizing to make it manageable. The little corners have ways to drag the movie and make it bigger and smaller. And then you can see that the mouse turns into kind of a finger pointer, and you could then drag the window around when you want to. Okay, so this is a movie that I took of a remote control car that starts from rest. You can see I've got it on a sidewalk. When I took this movie, there's a couple things that are kind of important. It really is best if you can have the moving object go from left to right, because Logger Pro kind of thinks that way. And also, it's really best if you can have the moving object be level. That's not always possible, but if you can have it be level in the camera, that'd be a pretty good thing. One thing about taking movies is that the camera has to be absolutely still. So you need to try to put the camera on a tripod, or if you can't do that, you need to have it braced against something and make sure that the camera's not moving, because you know, the software program assumes that as you're marking the moving object, that's the only actual motion going on. All right, now once we've downloaded the movie, it's a good idea to play the movie just to see how it looks. So you can see that there's some controls down below. There's a play, a stop, like a go back to the beginning type of thing, and then these are like frame forward buttons. So I'm just going to hit the play button and watch the movie play. Okay, you can see that the car, you know, started from rest and accelerated through the right end of the screen, with the camera really not moving at all. It looks like there's some moving around, but honestly that's just like a digital effect, if you will. Okay, so just to familiarize you with the window here, if you look on the top right-hand corner, you can see a number that says 100 out of 113. That actually tells you how many frames are in the movie. So there's 113 total frames. It's actually at frame 0 right now, but the last frame was at 100, and that's why it shows that. There's a little time stamp over here. That's kind of cool. You'll notice that if I click the frame forward button, you can see that that advances by a small amount of time. That's one way you can tell like how much time goes between frames. You can see that, you know, it goes from 0.317 seconds up to 0.348 seconds. So you know, the frame rate here is pretty fast. You're seeing very, very small little intervals of motion. Okay, the next thing to take a look at is on the bottom right-hand corner of the video window. You see this red dot with a triangle button. When you click on that, that basically opens up the video analysis tools on the left side. And the pointer, it just makes your mouse like a pointer. You want to make sure that you're always in the pointer unless you're going to do something else. This is actually the video marking tool. It's like a crosshairs with a red dot in it. That one's pretty important. This is a set origin button. That's kind of a cool thing because it allows you to like set the X and Y axis on your video. I'll show you how we use that in a second. There's a scale button. That one's very important. I'm going to show you that one in a second. There's also a ruler button that allows you to kind of measure the size of things in the video once you've set your scale. And then this would be the one you would use if you had more than one data set. That's kind of an advanced function sort of thing. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set the scale of this movie. So when I click on the set scale button, I actually know how long the remote control car is. So I'm going to take my mouse and drag across the length of the remote control car. It's making a green line. When I let it go, you can see I have this window pop up. Believe it or not, this is a pretty big remote control car. It's actually about 1.2 feet across, which is, you know, a pretty big car. When I click OK, now what Logger Pro has done is it's scaled everything that's in this scene to the length of that car. So when I get distances moved and velocities and accelerations, it's actually to real life scale instead of the scale according to a computer. All right, now that I've set the scale, I'm going to go ahead and frame the movie forward until the car starts to move. Okay. What I want to do is I want to find that frame where the car is barely just starting to move. And it was right there. So now I'm going to go back one frame, and I'm going to make that my first marking point. So I'm going to take the marking tool, the crosshairs with the red point in the middle. You can see that now my mouse looks like a crosshairs. And I'm going to mark the front of the car. Okay, when I do that, it automatically advances to the next frame of the video. What I want to do now is mark the front of the car again. It didn't move very far. I'm going to mark it again. And then I got to mark it again. And every time I mark it, it just moves forward a little tiny bit every frame of the movie. Okay. Now this can be kind of a tedious process, as you can see. So I'm going to pause the movie and I'm going to continue marking it while I do that. However, before I do that, I want to do one more thing. I'm going to change my pointer, my mouse back to a pointer, and I'm going to go back to the first frame of the movie right there. And I'm going to use my set axis button, and I'm going to lay the XY axis down right there. Now what you see is I have a vertical axis up and down, I have a horizontal axis back and forth. The reason I like to do this is because this yellow line now is a nice guide that I can use to make sure that I'm marking it at the same height all the time. So I'm going to pause the movie and go ahead and mark this. I'll bring you back when I'm all done. Okay, so I have finished marking the car as it accelerated from its beginning position through the end of the screen. You know, this last point was actually when the front of the car was there, and then I let it play forward a little bit so that you can see the back of the car. But now you're basically seeing these blue dots that are marking the position of the car at every time along the way. So, you know, it's a pretty cool marker. We're familiar with the concept of ticker tapes, where a machine makes a mark every periodic amount of time, every 60th of a second or every 30th of a second. And this looks obviously much like that. I mean, you can see that the car had moved increasingly bigger distances as time goes by, indicating acceleration. Notice how the points are on this yellow line right here, which is kind of cool. It kind of gives you an idea that I stayed pretty level. But one thing's kind of nice, if you need to make adjustments to points for some reason, you can do that. So over here on my Tools menu, if I click on the pointer and I then go over and just select any point that I want to select, I can actually then use the arrows on the keyboard to move those points around if necessary. So if you needed to move them up or down, or if you needed to even delete one, you could do that. You could just highlight the button and hit delete on the keyboard, and that point will go away. So this is kind of a place where you can make fine adjustments after you're done marking the object. Of course, at this point, it's always a really good idea to go ahead and save this thing, because you never know when there's going to be a computer problem or something like that. And so, it's a good idea to save it, give it some kind of file name that you'll recognize. In this case, I had called it remote control car acceleration. And I save it, and then what's kind of cool is that it actually embeds the video with it. So even if the video isn't present, you can still open up this actual logger profile on any computer that has Logger Pro. So a lot of times this might be something where you might do the video analysis at home. You could save the file, then you could bring it to school, open it up on one of the computers at school, and you could do some work on it if you want to. So anyway, this is the end of the first video. The next video is going to take about another 8 to 10 minutes to talk about some of the analysis that you can do. And I don't know, I didn't want to make this one video that long. So if you feel comfortable with this and you're ready to see how to do the more advanced analysis, then go ahead and check out the second video. Thanks.